In the middle of a sunny afternoon on February 26, 1815, a ship carrying 900 men slipped past a blockade of British cannons. On board was Napoleon Bonaparte, escaping his humiliating exile on the tiny island of Elba. He didn't flee to safety. He landed directly in France and began a terrifying march toward Paris. The government sent a full army to arrest him, but the moment the soldiers saw their former emperor, they defected. Without a single shot being fired, crowds of volunteers swelled his ranks. The current king fled the country, and mass delirium swept the streets as Napoleon casually walked back into the throne room to reclaim his empire. We are conditioned to look at this kind of aggressive, forward momentum and see absolute power. The ability to force an issue and bend reality to your will looks like total control. But that control is almost always an illusion, because within exactly 100 days of his miraculous return, France was bankrupt. Its military and economic resources were depleted to zero. By June, at the Battle of Waterloo, his exhausted forces collapsed entirely. His enemies, having learned their lesson, shipped him off to a barren rock off the coast of Africa, where he died in isolation. The heroic return from Elba was actually a carefully designed trap. It proves a counterintuitive law of strategy. Rapid, aggressive action is rarely the mark of a mastermind. It is usually the clearest sign that someone is being manipulated. During Napoleon's exile, the major European powers gathered in Vienna. Among them was his former foreign minister, Talleyrand. Talleyrand knew the emperor's ambition remained a severe threat to European stability, and he wanted him crushed permanently. He understood a vital principle of leverage. If you try to force someone to act by pleading your case or threatening them, you create immediate resistance. But if you can get them to move voluntarily, you operate completely undetected. So Talleyrand created the perfect bait. He arranged for visitors to whisper in the exiled emperor's ear. They fed his impetuosity, promising him that the masses loved him more than ever, and tipped him off that the British spyglasses would conveniently look the other way during an afternoon escape. Manipulators rely entirely on these emotional blind spots. The 19th century robber baron Daniel Drew made millions using the exact same psychology on Wall Street. Drew would hurry through his exclusive financial club, wiping his forehead with a red bandana. He would intentionally let a slip of paper fall to the floor. The rival traders, blinded by their own greed and desperate to predict his trades, would pounce on the paper, assuming it was an accidental inside tip. They would buy or sell in droves, driving the stock price exactly where Drew wanted it. Pickpockets use a similar exploit. They loiter near signs warning travelers to beware of thieves. The moment a person reads the sign, paranoia sets in, and they instinctively pat their coat to check their wallet. The target does the hardest part for the thief, revealing which pocket to target. Whether it is ego, greed, or fear, emotional bait bypasses the target's logic. It compels them to eagerly and actively construct their own defeat. Once a target takes the bait, a second mechanical advantage kicks in: the economics of exhaustion. When you make someone come to you, they are forced to spend their own time, energy, and resources to close the distance. During the 1905 Russo-Japanese War, Admiral Togo Heihachiro faced a Russian naval fleet that was heavily favored in terms of modern warships. Rather than attacking directly, Togo spread false intelligence. He baited the Russians into leaving their docks in the Baltic Sea with the promise of a swift, easy victory. As the stylized map of the Eastern Hemisphere shows, the Russian fleet began a massive deployment out of their home waters. Because the British controlled the fastest route through the Suez Canal, the Russian ships were forced into a punishing detour. The fleet had to sail more than 6,000 extra miles, all the way around the southern tip of Africa, kept on constant high alert by further Japanese rumors of a counterattack. By the time the Russian ships finally arrived in hostile waters, their sailors were entirely burned out. The well-rested Japanese forces easily dismantled them. This physical decay is exactly what Talleyrand anticipated for Napoleon. He knew that the logistics of marching on Paris and raising a new military would instantly drain whatever marginal resources a weakened France had left. For the trap to hold shut, a third element must be perfectly maintained. The target must never feel the strings pulling them. They must believe they are the ones dictating the situation. During the Renaissance, the brilliant architect Filippo Brunelleschi found himself forced to share a prestigious cathedral commission with a rival named Lorenzo Ghiberti. Brunelleschi knew Ghiberti lacked the skill for the job, but had the political connections to steal half the credit. Instead of complaining to the city officials and looking petty, Brunelleschi waited for a critical moment in the massive dome's construction. He then faked a mysterious illness and stayed home. The city officials turned to Ghiberti to continue the work, and his complete incompetence was immediately exposed. The officials had to fire Ghiberti and beg Brunelleschi to return. By removing himself from the equation, Brunelleschi made his opponents solve the problem for him, entirely under the illusion it was their own idea. Making the opponent come to you is a dominant strategy, but there is one exception. If time is against you, and allowing the enemy to wait means they will recover strength, you must strike quickly to deny them that chance. But in almost all other scenarios, true authority is not measured by how aggressively you can react to a problem. It is measured by strict emotional discipline. To hold the initiative, you must suppress the very natural urge to push back when challenged. By holding your ground and keeping your emotions in check, you turn your opponent's impulsiveness and anger into the engine of their own defeat. In your next conflict, before you rush to prove a point or attack an obstacle, pause and evaluate the board. Are you dictating the time and place of the engagement, or are you just the next deer walking